First of all, Stephen, when it comes to the success of this, who has more to gain? Is it the Koreans or is it the U.S.?
Well, definitely, I would say the Koreans, and then also Donald Trump has a lot to gain and potentially lose. I couldn't imagine that I'd be sitting here at the eve of the summit and saying that the United States president is having more trouble with Canada than necessarily with North Korea, potentially on the verge of having some sort of rapprochement with the North Koreans and even getting the framework for a peace deal with the North Koreans. That is extraordinary circumstances as we stand here in front of the Capella Hotel here on the hill behind me on Sentosa Island, where that summit will take place tomorrow morning. And again, all the focus is going to be on at 9 o'clock in the morning, as Donald Trump just mentioned. He'll know within the first minute or two what the attitude is going to be and whether he can size up Kim Jong Un's intention of truly fulfilling the pledge to completely denuclearize. Now, that is going to be the focus of all attention. Of course, the United States, they want CVID, complete, verifiable, irreversible disarmament of North Korea's nuclear capabilities. But of course, the North Koreans, they don't want to give up something that they have worked extremely hard to achieve. They want also the United States to pledge a reduction in the nuclear umbrella over its allies in East Asia. There is so much to still hammer out, and we don't have any indication what the potential deliverables will be, other than this morning the U.S. team met across the table with the advanced North Korean team. They talked for about 2 hours to hammer out last-minute details of that handshake tomorrow morning, and both sides came out of the meetings, past the press, looking fairly glum, I might add, and said nothing.
Kevin, you know the president like no one else. Is there a correlation with how the G7 went and the fact that actually his, relationship with the allies are at a record low, and the fact that the president needs the Korea summit to go well?
It's a great question, because I spoke to an economic advisor of the nationalistic type of background who was very happy, putting it mildly, with President Trump following his behavior at the G7. And ultimately what this came down to, I'm told by sources who work with this administration, is that Prime Minister Trudeau thought that because of the North Korea summit that he would have an opening, and ultimately President Trump didn't like that. And in fact, President Trump had fully intended to sign that communique, but went against it following Prime Minister Trudeau's press conference. Now, behind me, Francine, at the JW Marriott, where the White House press corps is staying, we're expecting senior administration officials, maybe even Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, to brief reporters ahead of tomorrow in Asia time, the meeting between President Trump and North Korea leader Kim Jong Un. Following this meeting, I would just note that Secretary Pompeo is scheduled to tour Asia to continue to meet with U.S. allies in the region about the fallout from the meeting of Japan and China, as well as other nations in the region, including South Korea. Francine?
Stephen, let me come back to you. We heard, after actually weeks of silence from the North Korean press, talking about the summit. Does this actually point to the fact that the North Korean leader has an intent of making this work?
Well, I think he does have the intention to make it work. He sees the potential of the economy. They've seen what South Korean economy has done. They've seen, obviously, the miracle of the Chinese economy over the last 3 decades. If you go back 50, 60 years, the North Korean economy was even stronger than the Chinese economy, and it's gone pear-shaped, of course, since then. So he sees that potential. And I thought a very interesting key indicator was just last week when Kim Jong Un dismissed 3 of his key generals, the hawks in the military. Perhaps that is an indication he is trying to soften his tone. And again, meeting with Donald Trump tomorrow, we really don't know what his ultimate goal will be to get from the Americans. His agenda today is not even known. We have not seen him since he met with the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, yesterday. He was all smiles and seemed in very good mood, but he's said to be hunkered down in the St. Regis Hotel today, preparing for the summit tomorrow. I might add, Singapore is picking up the hotel tab.
Kevin, we're just looking at a Bloomberg chart, which you can find on BTV Go, looking at the Trump approval rating. How much does it play into his base? So again, does his rating gets boosted because he had a fight with G7, and does it get boosted if he does a deal with the Koreas, or is it the other way around?
Well, with the issue of trade, we should note that the base of the Republican Party is very much with President Trump in terms of withdrawing from NAFTA. That's why that aggressive rhetoric that you're seeing from President Trump, and even he said this in remarks ahead of the G7, Francine, in which he said that it might be good for him should the U.S. withdraw from NAFTA, but it wouldn't be good for Mexico or Canada. He went on to say that he didn't want to play that political game. But in terms of how North Korea plays into his approval rating, I asked that same question to veteran Republican strategist Frank Luntz on Friday, and what he told me was that President Trump's base likes to see him in the negotiation stages. Now, that said, there is a centrist wing of the Republican Party, people like Senators Marco Rubio, as well as retiring Senator Bob Corker of Florida and Tennessee, respectively, who are very critical of President Trump. Heading into this meeting, they are adamant that he secure a long-term denuclearization deal as opposed to something illustrative or just something for purely political theatric reasons and something that would just be a short term. So they're very much looking for a long-term commitment from North Korea leader Kim Jong Un, something that Secretary Pompeo last week said he was guaranteed the U.S. would receive when Secretary Pompeo met with the North Korea leader several weeks ago.